If you know, you know. My life is changing, bro. Stay in hustle mode.
Alright y'all, so today we have a very interesting video. Like I told y'all, we're going to start doing different pieces of tutorials instead of trying to do the whole haircut and trying to make everything so drawn out. So today we're mainly focusing on a waves low drop fade, okay? You see my man, he's working on a 360, but first, after combing through his hair, we realized like we needed to wash it, man. Look at all that oil just rinsing off his scalp. So I'm going through with my scrubber mechanism. I'm sorry, it's early this morning, y'all, so please bear with me. But now you can see how the hair is just so fluffy, and my client's hair is very soft as well, so you can see the blow dryer is just pushing through the hair. That's what we want, that's what we're looking for. So whenever someone comes in and you can tell that the hair is pretty oily, just go ahead and wash it, man. Don't even waste your time. Now I can go through with my detachables and it's just cutting through like butter, man. This is a number 2 guard as well. Please make sure you're getting these type of detachables. Please make sure you're getting your detachables sharpened, because the bigger the detachable, the harder it is to cut, especially when it's coming straight out of the box. I mean, don't get me wrong, when it comes straight out the box, 9 times out of 10 it'll cut, but it's not going to give you that same type of fresh cut that you're looking for, like right here. Like the way I'm cutting through his hair, it looks like I'm shaving off a dog's hair. You know what I'm saying? Like it's very, very fluffy. It looks very fresh, and it's going to be very crisp, and it makes the haircut stand out and look a lot better as well. And it's also going to make the fading process for me a lot easier. Now right here, I'm going over his hairline very precautiously because he does have a cowlick towards his right side. So I'm not going to go too deep into it with my number 2 detachable. I'm gonna follow up with my 1.5 wall guard. Sorry, I'll be trying to differentiate between detachables and guards sometimes. So if you hear me say guard and you know it's a detachable, please bear with me, y'all. Okay, so now I have my 1.5 wall guard, and I'm going to go ahead and comb through his eyebrows. Man, a lot of men, I don't know why, but they don't like to groom their eyebrows and everything, but women like it, honestly. Long story short, I was in high school, and a friend of mine, she said, Vaughn, if you just cut your eyebrows or shape them up a little bit, you might get more girls. Did that, came back the next day, history was written. But anyway, so I'm taking my 1.5 and I'm just going in certain areas that I know that I might have difficulty with, especially like with dark spots. Now we're going to do a little bit of debulking. I have my number 2 guard on here now because after washing the hair, and when the hair is very soft, you want to make sure you're not cutting too much of the hair off, because you still want the fade to transition from darkness to light. And if you debulk too much of the hair off, then it's not going to make sense. Please excuse my friend, y'all. That's my good friend Kai. She does really, really good hair. Specializes in braids, specializes in quick weaves, specializes in silk press, you name it. But in the mix of all that, we was having a great conversation and everything. So you might see her coming in and out of the room a couple times because she was checking on her client. She had her under the dryer. So now I'm following up with my 1.5 wall guard, and I'm pretty much tapering the bottom part of the fade where I know where I'm going to do most of my fade action at. I'm talking about when the hair is washed and dried perfectly and you see the hair getting prepped like this for the fade, it really makes me excited, man. I'm over here taking my time. I'm having a good conversation. I can't lie to y'all, because I know how this haircut is going to turn out. As an artist, whenever you see your client walking into the shop, you want to open up that third eye to the point where right when you see someone, hey, I know exactly what type of haircut they're probably looking for. And then you want to envision the haircut on their head before it comes out. Okay, we combing everything down, combing everything through just to make sure we don't have any dark spots. I still seeing something in the corner. Now let's go ahead and follow up with our trimmers. I'm going to use my classic Bablis FX. Can't go wrong with these bad boys. That is a nice blade on them. The Sharpened and modified. And I had these blades for about 2 years, y'all. Like, I used to line up with them a lot. You can go on my old videos on my YouTube channel. You'll see me lining up with them. But, you know, once I feel like the blades are getting past their peak stage, I just start using them for guidelines, because I still like my guidelines sharp, but I don't press too hard. And it also helps speed up the process of debulking and getting the bottom, you know, all the extra hair at the bottom of the blend. You see, I'm just snipping that hair off. Easy money, easy money. Let's go. Now, the moment we all been waiting for. So we're gonna go ahead and start off with our Bablis clippers. I have a fade blade on these. I think these are the Dre Clippers edition. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. But we're starting our first guideline and we're going up. I'm not going up a whole inch. I just wanna go up a half an inch because I wanna keep this fade as low as possible. Now, for this tutorial, I'm only showing you one side of the head because I specifically want to show you the techniques of how I'm fading. Over the years, I usually fade with my wrist down, but I've been learning a new technique in fading with my wrist sideways just to keep my wrist a lot more straight, because that can, you know, the way we position our hands, it can damage our hands. A good friend of mine, she's a massage therapist, and she was looking at my muscles and my wrist, and she said it didn't look good at all. So, you know, she said start focusing on changing the position of how I'm holding my utensils. But in the midst of all that, I'm just working out this bottom blend right now. You know, I'm transitioning through my levels. Personally, I like to fade up. Sometimes I may fade down. It depends on how I'm feeling. See, now you're starting to see the bottom blend come alive. I think I'm on that 4th notch right now, and I just closed to the last notch, and I'm just getting that bald line out. You want to make sure you're setting your clipper blades to a nice zero gap, not to where the bottom blade is biting the client's skin, but you want that bottom blade just close enough so you can still get out those hard lines, man. Because if you're pressing really hard, yeah, it's going to be real hard. You're going to have to use your trimmers, and a lot of times I try to avoid that. So in order to avoid that, if you can zero gap your clippers correctly, or your clipper blades correctly, then you'll save a lot of time. Now, when the hair is washed and the hair is soft and fluffy, you can do this technique. I'm using clip over comb technique. I'm just debulking a little bit. I'm just showing off a little bit. I want to show y'all how I do my clip over comb. Now, this is something you do learn in school. It's pretty much self-explanatory if you're watching my technique. I'm just trying to stay on that line, and I'm going up just a little bit. I think I went up just a little bit too much right there though. But when I flip my comb over to the smaller tooth, I really want to stay on that line, because if I go up too high, then I'm cutting too much hair. Okay, I think this just might be my favorite guard. Oh, this is the guard of the century. That 1.5 is just undefeated, man. It can get out some dark spots. It can cut the hair perfectly. It can cut the hair down on most people's heads perfectly to where they want. I mean, and most people, they just think 1.5. They think, oh, okay, yeah, that's what most people use anyway. But a 1.5 is not going to work on everybody's head. That's why as barbers, you have to train your eyes to know which guards is the perfect guard for your client. Because they can explain it, but they just might think, oh yeah, I think that's the 1.5 guard. And nine times out of 10, they've seen another barber using it on Instagram or YouTube, so they're like, okay, cool, that's what I'm gonna use. So earlier, you seen I debulked a lot of the fade area. So now I'm able to fade with this 1.5 guard, and I'm able to also, I mean, these strokes that I'm using right here, that's more blend strokes. You see, I'm trying to get into the hair a lot more. And then when I'm jabbing, that's when I'm actually fading. I'm working the fade. See, jab, jab, jab. So that's a fade right there. That's me fading, okay? All right, another guard that I love, and it helps me out with my fades. This is a #1 single magnetic Andes guard. Okay, now the single magnetics, they work on walls, they work on Bablis blades, and of course they work on Andes blades. Now I do like the wide teeth of these blades, especially for hair textures like this, because it's going to cut the hair just enough, but not too much. You see, the fade is already coming alive, man. Like, all I'm doing is just blending at this point. That's all I want to do. And I'm doing, like right here, you see I'm using the corner of my blades a lot more because the direction of his hair changes. It goes forward versus when you're going towards the curve of the fade, it goes down. I can't lie, y'all. Man, I was having a really, really good conversation. So you're gonna see my client laughing a pretty good bit. And we always have good dialogue. But right here, this is my Coco Hair Pro guard. This is #1 guard. Yes, the #1 Andes guard, it does do the magic. However, this #1 Coco Hair Pro guard, it gets a lot close. It gets just a little bit closer. I can't remember the actual millimeter metrics, but once I get to the shop, I'll try to put that in the description and everything. But this guard is magical as well, man. Like you see, it's just blending the fade out, and I take my time with blending it. I don't try to rush through my fades too much, man. Especially when I know I want the fade to come out a certain way. Especially if I'm doing a tutorial, I'm going to take my time. Now, if I'm chopping, I do have techniques to where it's like, okay, cool, I can breeze through this, or I can cut a few corners. And when I say cut a few corners, I don't mean like trying to take shortcuts or anything. Cutting a few corners is like, hey, having a couple of tricks up your sleeve, so when you're busy or when you fall behind, you can kind of catch up. Because there's gonna be times where you're 20 minutes behind. It's gonna be times where you're 30 minutes behind. I mean, I remember one time I had a client, he was 40 minutes behind. I was like, man. But we had a nice talk about that. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think this is my 0.5 Cocoa Hair Pro Guard. Now this is the same as using your blending guard on the wall set, if you know what I'm talking about, those small little teeth. This is the same type of guard, but the teeth are just a little bit bigger, which I like because it's hard to explain, man. They cut just enough, man. They don't do too much. Okay, now after fading out everything, we're going to notch and just clean up. The reason why I'm notching with my Babyliss is because their open lever is equivalent to you putting your lever on the middle notch on your Andes Masters. So I don't try to do too much cleanup work with these, and you're going to see I kind of went into it just a little too much. But you can kind of see it, right? Yeah, I just went into it right there, man. So sometimes, I can get lost in my fade. It doesn't happen normally, but I'm glad I did it in this video just so I can show you how I'm going to clean up. But basically, you want to stick around because I'm going to show you how I use my Andes Masters just to clean up anything, because sometimes you can go higher in your fades. Now I'm still trying to keep the fade as low as possible. You see the blend is still there, it's still looking clean, but hey, we just gotta restart the process over a little bit. So sometimes when that happens, don't freak out, don't get nervous. Just right here, just use your blending strokes. Now I'm using my fade stroke just to make sure I'm getting those. It's like, man, it's a hump of hair right there. Like the line just don't want to come out. And a lot of times that happens when you're trying to fade waves. Like waves could be very, very hard to fade, man, because they can be very, very tough curls. And a lot of times, even when you scalp somebody, you still see the waves in their head because it's just like they're embedded into your scalp for some reason. But right here, I'm pulling out my babies. These are my cats and saviors. These are my go-tos. So I'm just going to start off with my number 1 guard, and then I'm going to eventually transition into my 0 guard, and that's going to make sure my fade is just smoothly blended. Look, you can see it already. Yes, sir. Them waves were baking. Now we gonna take the do-rag off. I did apply some foam wrap to his hair. I'm sorry, y'all, but like I said, this is just a waves tutorial, but I do want to show y'all the cleanup work. I do want to show y'all the texturing and polishing of the haircut. Whoo, boy, come on now, stop playing with me. That's a clean shot right there. That might be the thumbnail. I don't know. We're going to see. But I did apply the pencil line, so now I'm just razoring out the pencil line, making sure we're just highlighting and enhancing the hairline, not doing too much. And after we razor out the pencil line, we have to follow up with trimmers, make sure we get the residue off the hairline. Man, it's clean right there, man. I'm sorry, that is clean. Man, shout out to my boy Josh, man. This is like, he's one of my favorite clients to do. I remember when I first started cutting his hair. The thing about a barber and client relationship is the fact that you only get one chance as a barber to impress your client. But if the client is impressed as the barber, that doesn't mean, okay, if you accept this, then you can accept just a little bit less, or you can accept this and I ain't even put in all my work. No, I'm gonna give you the best that I can give you, and then I'm gonna try to perfect your head, or I'm gonna try to perfect your haircut. Or even if you want to switch up a haircut, I want to make sure I can perfect any haircut that you bring to the table, so I can make sure you're not just to make sure you're not feeling like, oh, okay, my barber's good, but he's caught up in his own mix or whatever. Because a lot of times that's how clients switch up. Barbers don't want to become innovative. They don't want to try new things. They want to be stuck in their own ways. It's not your way or the highway, The beard is looking good. We keeping it wide. Now I don't usually show myself lining up the bottom, like the neck area of the beards, but one thing I did learn, you want to make sure you contour the lines to the person's face, and you also want to make sure you keep that line as wide as possible. because if you go up too high in that line, that's what can take a lot of your beard bulk away. It's not the top line. A lot of times it could be the bottom line. So keep that in mind. But I'm gonna do a tutorial on beards just to show you what I'm talking about as well. So just like I mentioned before, we're just taking that residue line out. And while I'm doing this, I make sure I comb through the hair, especially on waves, because my man's hair is very, very soft, it's very curly. So I have to comb down here right there, and I have to get those little bitty curls. And mama, there goes that man. That fade's clean. This is just a spin around. I'm sorry I didn't put my client's head down, but I guarantee you the back of his head is blended. It's faded perfectly, I guarantee you. I'm not the type of barber that just blends the sides and then don't worry about the back. Now, my Andes Masters, they're always undefeated, especially when the bad boys are sharpened and they're zero gap perfectly. So now I'm just gonna make sure that line that I was kind of pretty much precautious about, I just want to make sure it's blended out really good. So that's why I'm always turning different angles, looking in the light, because once you step out in the sunlight, hey, it's murder she wrote. I can't bring you back in the shop and be like, oh, hold on, let me try to touch this up again. People got things to do and places to go. If you watch this video throughout the whole process, you understand why this fade looks like this. You understand why this haircut looks like this. So as a barber, or just as someone just watching the channel, ask yourself, what's the furthest you'll go? How much are you willing to overachieve? You see, I'm over here texturing up my fade. I'm turning his head. I'm looking at all different angles. I'm looking at different types of light just to make sure, hey, once you step out, this is my canvas. This has to look perfect, okay? But in the meantime, please make sure y'all are liking. Please make sure y'all subscribe. Please make sure y'all comment. Hey man, show some love. If you learn something, if I help you out, just do one of those 3 simple things, and I appreciate you, and it will go a long way, and it will help the channel, okay? Because we're trying to grow. We're not trying to stay stagnant. We're not trying to plateau at all. But in the meantime, I appreciate y'all for watching so much. This is my last little bit of polishing. Von Keith out.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Show love.
What them dogs showing, boy.
Hey,
let me tell you something.
Swimming, boy.
This thing right here, that number 2, it ain't playing. That's 6.3 right there. 6.3, boy.
Yes, sir.
All right, y'all. It's Von Keith the artist. It's my boy Josh, and we are out.
Stay in hustle mode. Got some brand new clothes. Hit them with a pose. Check what I just drove. My car don't touch the road.